Hello, this is Pamela Topjian. Welcome to Holistic Connections, Conversations with Holistic Practitioners. And I have a very special guest for us today. If you read the thumbnail, you know who she is. And not necessarily a holistic practitioner, but somebody whose work can be very healing in a lot of ways. So I will let you introduce yourself and share a little bit about what you do in the holistic healing world and the other worlds.
The world in general. Hi, I'm Kelly Palmatier. I'm a full-time professional psychic medium. So I do psychic readings, which are great for getting insight into the path you're on at the moment and what may be coming up for you in the future. And I find that that typically is inspiring and brings people clarity on their path. And then also I'm a medium, so I pick up on I'm an evidential medium, so I'm channeling loved ones who've crossed over, but I'm doing it in a way where I pick up on details such as a spirit's appearance, their personality, how they passed, funny family memories or inside jokes, and I even get exact names in about 60% of my readings. So those readings tend to really bring people a sense of inner peace.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have been watching your videos as I told you before we started recording. So she does have a YouTube channel. It's Channeling White Light, and the website is channelingwhitelight.com. And if you have any skepticism or you're unsure what she's even talking about, please go to the YouTube channel. You'll learn a lot there about what she does and how she does it. So, if you could talk a little bit about how this can help with people during a time of grief to get a mediumship reading.
Sure. So one of the things is I do like to acknowledge that not everybody in my line of work is ethical.
Right.
So when you're dealing with grief, you never want to go with a provider who has sought you out because that's a red flag. You know, there are
Yeah.
unfortunately people who will prey on the grieving
Mm.
by saying things that are quite cruel, like, oh, I've got a message from your grandmother and she's angry at you, or
Oh.
your uncle needs your help crossing over. No. If somebody's approaching you, leave it. But
Mm.
when you're ready for a mediumship reading, it can be very cathartic, very helpful with your healing. Um, I usually recommend, just as a general guideline, that people wait 6 months or more after someone
Okay.
has passed, and that's for a couple of reasons. One is that sometimes, not always, but sometimes people who are newly crossed over may still be dealing with transition.
Mm.
And so they may need a little time to sort of adjust to how to manipulate the energy to be able to come through clearly.
Yeah.
But also it's because when the grief is at its strongest, it doesn't matter how great the mediumship reading is, nothing's going to bring them back. And that's what you really want when the grief is at its strongest.
Yeah. Yeah. That was going to be my next question too, was is there a time period that you should wait? Because yeah, definitely as soon as you lose a loved one, whether it's through a long time illness and you know that it's coming, or whether it's accidental, it's that very first, even that first year, even is the hardest, and you're really heavy and going through a lot. And I think a lot of people don't really know what to expect from that grieving process if they've never lost anybody before. And that can even be for a pet. I mean, people lose their pets, and it's just like losing, your child.
That
And
is a loved one. You know, it's a
yeah,
part of the family. And I
absolutely.
will say, because a lot of people wonder about this, that it's quite normal for pets to come through in my
Yeah.
reading.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had lots of times where I've gotten an animal coming through, and just like with the humans, I'll pick up on their appearance, their personality, how they passed, and I even get their exact names sometimes.
Oh, that's so
Yeah,
sweet.
it's really cool. I love animals, so.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so this brings up something I didn't even think of, but can you feel then, like, so if maybe say somebody's cat comes through, can you feel it like maybe brush up against your leg and then you're like, oh, there's a cat, and can you kind of feel it, or maybe like a dog jumping up on you or something like that?
That's a good question. Especially because like in my case, clairsentience, which is the psychic sense of feel, that
Mm-hmm.
is actually one of my stronger clairs.
Oh, okay.
But for me, and it's different for everybody, I just like to acknowledge that. But for me, when I am sensing an animal's spirit, it's more of a feeling it's like an emotional feeling or a hunch. It's like I kind of feel, I sense the energy.
Mm-hmm.
It's not so much like I feel the fur of
Okay.
right. Good question. Yeah,
Yeah. So when people are going through the grieving process and they get a mediumship reading and say it's somebody that's passed a long time ago, and what do you think that the people are your clients are getting the relief from? Is it just knowing that their loved ones are still around them, or knowing that they're at peace? Or what do you think it is that's really bringing them relief just from hearing from
yeah.
what they gave to you?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, just like we're all individuals and we're all on our own individual paths, we have our own healing journeys. And so I feel that different people will get different things out of the
Ah,
reading.
yeah.
Certainly for a lot of people, it's going to be just a confirmation that the afterlife exists.
Mm,
To be able to say, I've got your grandmother here, named Marge, who died of lung cancer
mm,
and, planted the roses in her garden. And, all these things where I'm just picking up on these details
yeah.
that confirm, wow, she really does have my grandmother here. For a lot of people, just that alone is so cathartic and amazing to know, to have that validation that the afterlife exists. Now, for other people, though, there may be other things that they've really been needing to hear.
Mm,
Like, for example, the caregiver who felt that her care wasn't good enough and
mm.
she's giving up being a caregiver. And
Oh,
and the spirit comes through to say, no, you were the reason I held on as long as I did.
oh, yeah, yeah.
Keep doing this. So, sometimes there are healing messages that are very specific to each individual client.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense for sure. Yeah, thank you for that. That really answers that. So, what do you think is the biggest misconceptions? And along with that, how do you handle skeptics that might come to the events that you do?
Sure. So regarding the skeptics that come to my events, you're welcome. You're welcome to come. I don't feel any compulsion to try to win over a skeptic.
Hmm.
I mean, certainly I've got tons of reviews of people saying that they were skeptics, but they couldn't have been too skeptical because they paid to come see
Right,
me.
right.
And the same thing goes for my events. I mean, typically, not always, but most of my events are fundraisers for charity.
Hmm.
Please, come on and buy those tickets and that's great. I have enough clients from people who believe in what I do
Hmm.
that it's not up to me to convince anybody otherwise.
Right, right.
And then
Yeah.
what was the first part of the question that you asked?
Um, oh, misconceptions. What are some of the biggest
Oh,
misconceptions?
yes,
Yeah.
that's a great question. So this was actually a misconception that I had before I became a medium.
Okay.
And that is when we think about mediums having a conversation with loved ones in spirit, we typically will picture what we've seen through Hollywood. So that's
Right.
going to be, look, a full body apparition walks into the room and we're having a conversation and they're speaking in full sentences. No. Now, I'm not going to say that never happens
Yeah.
because every medium, every psychic, every medium is a little bit different and they're going
Hmm.
to perceive things differently. But for me, typically, I didn't realize this until I started training as a medium.
Hmm.
I learned that what happens is I just raise my vibration,
Yeah.
spirit lowers their vibration, we'll meet somewhere in between, and then I'll pick up on little tidbits, little flashes of information, convey that to my client, and hope that it makes sense.
Yeah. So the misconceptions, just like the misconceptions with a lot of things, come basically from TV and movies.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Yeah. That's too bad. So, what do you think is the difference, or I shouldn't say what do you think, what do you feel like the difference is between, and is there a difference between like channeling and mediumship, or is it kind of the same?
Right. So being a channel is simply the act of opening yourself up to allow spirit to flow through you.
Mm,
So, people who do energetic healing, in that sense, they are channeling the divine light towards the healing. I will say that typically when people think of channeling, usually they're going to think of people who are channeling ascended masters or
mhm.
ancient wisdom and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But technically, it does apply. It does make sense to use that term for someone who is a medium, even though a medium is typically going to be someone who channels just loved ones who've crossed over.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So you mentioned training for mediumship. So how did you get interested and how did you get your start? Because I know
Yeah.
you're worldwide, so you must have been through a lot to get to where you are today.
Thank you. Yeah, so I've been psychic my whole life. I had little things happen to me as a child, but then I actively worked at developing my psychic skills all
Mm,
throughout high school and college. I learned to do readings back then. And so when I graduated from college, though, I didn't want to become a professional psychic because that was before the internet existed. I'm showing my age here. But I didn't want to have a house on the side of the highway with a neon psychic sign in the window. Um,
right.
so I entered the corporate world, and for 30 something years, I would do psychic readings for my family or friends, but
Mm,
not professionally.
yeah.
But then it was 2017. I was sitting at the base of a waterfall, getting in touch with nature and spirit, and um, talking to my loved ones who've crossed over and praying. And basically, I just asked for guidance. I said,
Yeah.
I want to make a difference in the world. I want to help others. If there's something I can do to help others that I'm not already doing, please give me a sign and I'll try to listen to that. And what I got was this lightning bolt. Just kidding. It felt like a lightning bolt.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
sure it felt that way.
but what I got was just this direct answer just popped into my head that I should become a medium to channel loved ones who've crossed over. And I was like, oh, okay. I mean, I knew what a medium was. I'd seen them on TV, but I'd never thought of myself as a medium. So I said, okay, how shall I do this? And boom, I got the answer just popped into my head. Read books, spend time in meditation, connect with other psychics and mediums.
Mm.
So I started doing all of that right away. By the end of the month, I was channeling.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Yeah.
That answers another one of my questions I was going to ask. How would you suggest people who are interested, how they get started? So
Right.
basically
Well,
reading books
obviously,
and
right. Obviously, the three things I've just mentioned, right?
yeah.
Spend time in meditation, connect with other psychics and mediums. There are lots of mediumship classes out there.
Right. Yeah.
That's certainly an option. But for me, I really focused more on the books. I read multiple different books. For example, here's one that I enjoyed. It's called So You Want to Be a Medium by Rose Van den Eden.
Oh, okay.
Really excellent book. Yeah, but there are lots of them out there. And yeah, you can take classes. The thing is, once you have learned the concept, the technique, then the next thing is getting experience.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing to say, well, if you're going to ride a bike, you put this foot on the pedal, and then when this foot moves forward, this foot moves this way. Until you've actually done it a few times, it's hard to kind of grasp it all.
Yeah.
So that's the way it is with mediumship. You can understand how to do it, but you need to actually practice. And so, like in my case, what I did is I put it out there on the internet in a local Facebook group for my community. I said, hey guys, I'm just learning to become a medium and I need the experience. So I'll do these readings, mediumship readings for free or whatever love offering works for you, just so I can get the experience. And what happened is it took off, it went viral in my local market, so that I was doing multiple readings every night and weekend days outside
Wow.
of my regular job for months on end.
Yeah, talk about experience, huh?
Yeah.
Getting practice.
Yeah.
Wow.
I will say though that even then it felt like it was almost too easy. Like
Mm,
people were telling me I was getting hits, but it's like because I still had the Hollywood perception, you know? So I'm
right.
like, is this real? Am I just imagining this? Am I getting lucky? Right?
Yeah.
But one day I said to my clients, I said, is there a Ray or a Roy? And everybody in the room gasped. His name is Roy Ray. I was like, holy wow, I'm
Yeah.
really doing this.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
Yeah,
And that
yeah,
kind of was a shift for you then, right? That, wow, I really am doing
yeah.
this.
It was
So
definitely a confirmation. And still to this
nice.
day, for me, getting exact names is one of my all-time favorites. I love getting names.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah, that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
Um, so let me see. So I know that you do events, like you said, a lot of them are charity events. And you do, I guess they're called like gallery readings where there's, you're up on stage and there's an audience and you just pull wherever you're drawn from. Um, but you do take one-on-one clients? And then speaking of learning or somebody getting into it, I know that on your website you also have a mentoring program. So can you talk about those things a little bit?
Sure. Yes. So you've just listed off multiple services on my website. Yeah. Reading down through my services list. Thank you.
Hmm.
So, I offer in-person sessions and remote sessions by phone and video call for clients all over the world.
Yeah.
In-person sessions, that's going to be in my office in Asheville, North Carolina.
Okay.
And so for my readings, I'll do psychic readings or mediumship readings. And we can be one-on-one, or you're welcome to have up to two additional adults to be present for no additional charge. And then I also do the group readings, is what I typically call them, but gallery readings. A lot of people use that terminology.
Yeah.
And I can do group readings. People can hire me for group readings where I'll
Hmm.
go, just for a little family gathering or for a big gala. I'll
Yeah.
go and do group readings there. Or, of course, the fundraiser, if people want to raise funds, then I am typically often willing to donate my time for
Hmm.
group mediumship readings. So just run it by me. I
Yeah.
prefer in person for those
Yeah.
fundraiser events as opposed to online. And then, yeah, the other is the psychic development mentorship. So that is typically going to be a one-on-one. I have
Hmm.
taught classes, like I
Hmm.
just did one in Sedona this past year, The Secret Language of Mediums.
Oh,
But,
nice.
yeah, but the mentorship, that's typically going to be one-on-one. And what we do is I just, wherever my client is in their journey,
Yeah.
that's where I meet them. So if they've had some things happen and they want to know, why is this happening to me? Or, what is it? Then I'll guide them through that. Maybe they want to strengthen their abilities. Maybe they want to control their abilities. I can talk them through either one of those. Maybe they're established and they want to grow their business as a professional medium. So basically, I can talk people through all those different
Yeah.
points.
Nice. Yeah. Nice. So yeah, of course that would have to be individual because everybody's in a different place and everybody is looking for something different within that for themselves. Yeah, I can see that. So where is the best place for people to contact you if they want to learn more or they want to hire you for any? Is it just your website or social media a good place or where's the best place?
Well, I'm certainly on all the major social
Yeah.
media. But the best place is through my website,
Okay.
channelwhitelight.com. By the way, that's my company name, Channeling White Light, because
Okay.
I'm channeling white light towards a better world.
Absolutely.
So that's how you remember it. But yeah, just go to my website, channelingwhitelight.com, and I've got tons of information there. It's a very
Yeah.
extensive website, tons of information about what I do, how I do it, the sliding scale that I charge for people. You can
Yeah.
read my reviews, watch video excerpts of my readings,
Yeah.
see my full availability, book appointments, all on my website.
Great, great. Yeah, and we'll have that link down below, of course, in the description. And is there anything else that you would like people to know, or anything else you'd like to share before we go?
Sure. I do like to acknowledge again that every psychic, every medium is a little bit different. In my case, I ask for only positive messages that serve highest good.
Yeah.
So that doesn't mean that that nothing will come through that is representing something challenging in your life. It
Mhm.
just means that if something challenging is brought up, it's because there's a benefit to you to know about it. And
Yeah.
that's a distinction that I think is important because not every psychic is like that.
Hmm.
Some psychics are very proud of, I tell it like it is. I'm
Hmm.
like, well, but does it serve highest good?
Yeah, yeah. And I was just going to say that channeling white light, I mean, that sort of says it all. That's a great description of what you do. So
Mhm.
that's awesome. Like I said before we started recording, I'm a little bit starstruck. I just am just so
Oh,
honored that you're willing to do this and be on here with me as my guest.
oh,
And just I want to thank you again. And yeah, so please go to her website. It's a beautiful site. All the information is there. Check out the YouTube channel. Again, beautiful. So much on there. I love it all. Thank you once again.
thanks so much for having me, Pamela. I appreciate it.
You're so welcome.